That's right. We keep it all the way fresh on the Beat London. This is Sachelle here for the Brent Health Matters panel show. This is a very special program that we've interrupted the Drive Time show for today on this Wednesday evening to talk about something that is very, very important in conjunction with Brent Council. Now, today we are going to be talking about mental health as we build up until World Mental Health Day, which is on the 10th of October. Now, mental health is something that affects us all, whether it's personally, through friends, through family, through children, through somebody we know. Mental health is something you would have seen in the news, you would have seen it in the media, social media, everywhere, because it's very, very important. And it's something that us here at the Beat London want to make sure that we are talking about, and also making sure that we are having conversations that are very difficult and having conversations that are slightly taboo, to make sure that we can bring these to light and we can normalize it. Now, I have got a very special panel today. I'm really excited for today's show because this is such a crucial thing that we're talking about. And if you do want to get involved, make sure you hit us up on the socials at the Beat 1036 FM on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and let us know what you think. Let us know your questions. We can put them to the panel afterwards. Now, let's get with the panel. Let's see who we've got today. So I've got an amazing panel lined up. I'm going to start with Jenny. Jenny, how are you? Are you all right, Jenny?
I am. I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Wicked, wicked. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do? You are an operational team manager, aren't you?
That's correct, Sachelle. So that essentially means that I manage a team that is part of the Brent Mental Health Service, but we also are part of the Brent Health Matters program. So I am the team manager.
I love that. I love that. We're going to talk a little bit more about the work that you do more broadly very soon. But I've also got Blarina. Blarina, you are a mental health expert, aren't you? Leader, if you like, from at Ashford Place, aren't you? Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes, so I lead a few mental health projects here at Ashford Place. For those who don't know Ashford Place, we're a charity based in Cricklewood, and we provide plenty services for the community in relation to mental health, dementia, and other services as well. And I'm leading a few services here about mental health.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Like I say, we're going to get into a little bit more about what you do as well very, very shortly. Hinda, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for being on the panel today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, of course. So I am one of the head of services working for a brilliant charity known as Rethink Mental Illness. I oversee nationally in the South some of the mental health services across the charity.
I love that. Amazing work. You are all doing incredible work. So thank you for taking the time out today to join the panel. And I've also got someone who is a user of the mental health services. Now, if you're listening to this show live on the Beat 1036 FM, you'll be able to hear Sally, but we have concealed her identity and we've changed her name for the purposes of the video recording of this, because it's very important that we have conversations and feel that we're in a space where we can comfortably talk without feeling like there's going to be any kind of stigma, taboo, backlash. So we have got Sally on the line. We don't want any negativity, any judgment, which is why we want to make sure she's comfortable, and we have concealed her identity. But Sally, hello, how are you?
Hi, Sachelle, and hi to the audience. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us today. Really, really appreciate you coming on and being able to share your story, because like I say, this is a really important thing that we're talking about here. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to start with you, actually. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience kind of with mental health in general? Like, how have you kind of come into getting involved with the services?
Absolutely, I can. So I'm a Brent girl, born and raised and still living here, always have lived around in and around Wembley. So I've kind of used and accessed mental health services for a long time, probably coming up to 20 years in some capacity or the other. So one, partly with family, partly with social services, and then personally for myself. It has been a struggle at time, and that's probably obviously because having had that much experience in the mental health service as a user, obviously I've seen it get better, that's for sure, but it has been a struggle maybe historically. But it's been good and bad, but at the moment my last kind of treatment was very good, and I'm very grateful for the services to have offered me that.
I love that. Thank you. for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And we are going to talk about the services that are available, and we are going to talk about you know, how easy it is to access them and all that kind of stuff, because these are all things that I think are really important for us all to know. But generally, I just want to start off with you, Jenny, if that's okay. I just want to talk about kind of mental health in general, you know, in Brent. What is it looking like? You know, what are mental health services doing to kind of help people that may need kind of assistance?
Thank you, Sashel. So what are we doing in Brent to help people that may need assistance? Obviously, we've got our pathways, which starts in primary care with the increasing access to psychological therapies, also known as IAPT. So that's where, you know, people can self-refer for therapy, or their GPs can refer them for that. So that's the beginning of where people can begin to access mental health services. So if you were referred to IAPT, the process that you will get a phone call, get triaged, they'll do a risk assessment, and then make a decision as to where your needs will be best met. And that might well be within IAPT itself, or it might well be that they signpost you or they escalate you up to the community mental health team, which is for obviously adult people. So there is the route that people will come into then the adult service is via your GP referral, via an IAP referring you, or sometimes perhaps the GP has referred you to a single point of access, and then again they would have done a triage and they've decided that you need an assessment within the community mental health hubs, and then once you've been assessed, then a decision is made as to the best sort of help that you can get. But there's also support around in the community, you know, for perhaps people that might not actually need to come into service at all. And this is where then Rethink Hinders team will come in. This is where also Ashford Place might come in. There's also our other third sector organizations who may be able to support people, but we might also look into apps and, you know, self-help guides, or maybe, you know, interventions that can be done within the community locally. So there is a lot that can be provided for people, but you know, the referral pathways are there. Yes.
Now, I think two things I just want to ask you on that. The first one is, can people refer themselves? Because you mentioned GP referring. Can people just refer themselves at all?
So people can refer themselves to IAPT. There is usually they can either make a phone call, or there is an email address that they can refer themselves via, and then, you know, that you'll get a response from you know, either a senior admin or a clinician to then let you know whether you're going to be assessed, you know, signposted, or, you know, what is the outcome's going to be. So people can refer themselves to the primary care service, but if it's into secondary care services, you cannot self-refer. You will have to be referred by your GP or another professional.
Right. Okay. And then I think that the other thing I just want to clarify, because there will be some people listening here thinking, I don't think I got mental health, I just feel a little bit down. What kind of mental health conditions do you deal with? Oh
goodness, everything. And I think this is actually to just make people realize that, you know, it's normal. It's everyone can have mental health. There is no health without mental health. So we deal with from anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorders. And then we'll get into the more kind of complex mental health difficulties that people might experience, such as, you know, having difficulties with relationships and personality, people, you know, suffering with schizophrenia, bipolar affective disorder, schizoaffective disorders. So there's a wide range of mental health difficulties that we deal with along different pathways, as well as children's mental health, you know, difficulties. And we have specialist services for that.
Amazing, amazing work. Thank you. I'm going to come back to you, Jenny. Blarina, can you just tell me a little bit more about the kind of work that you do? Because I know you do incredible work in the community as well.
So Ashford Place, like I said earlier, we've got numerous services that we offer to community, and usually people will come to us after they've been discharged, or signposted from other services as well, or directed by the GP and so on. So the services we offer, it's in terms of mental health, it's at the moment we've got a project which is called Suicide Prevention Program, which supports individuals with medium to high risk of suicide. We offer their support groups and other activities that you can join within Ashford Place, but also we can then signpost them elsewhere if needed. Yeah, so that's one of the main ones. But we also have Brent Thrive here, which is a group has come together over COVID usually. A few people came together with lived experience, people who work or live in Brent. And we kind of, our message is in a way to just make mental health more heard within Brent and make it more friendly, so people can feel free to just talk about what their struggles are, and share their experience with one another, but also make professionals and other people around who are within these services hear their struggles in a way. So we can then identify where to improve our services and what we offer. So Brent Thrive is big. It's kind of, we've launched last December, we've launched Making Brent Mental Health Friendly at the Civic Center and so on. We're doing the mental health event on the 10th of October. We also are organizing a massive film and art festival at the Kiln in Theatre, again during the Mental Health Day. So yeah, we're kind of inviting really everyone with some experience to come together and just have their voices heard and bring some light to all mental health and make it more friendly in a way.
Amazing. Now it sounds like Jenny and Blarina, you've both doing amazing work in the community. But I am going to be devil's advocate here because I do want to kind of push the other side of it. And I'm going to go to you, Sally. Sally, what is your opinion of mental health services in Brent? Because it seems like Blarina and Jenny and the teams locally are doing amazing work. But is it always been this proactive? What's your experience?
If I have to give my honest opinion, I don't think it's always been this proactive. That's been certainly my experience. I think definitely there is much more momentum now, and especially like I work with Blarina through Thrive, so I'm a member of that. So definitely through the kind of third sector, there's a lot of momentum, and it's feeding into the kind of the national services, the NHS, and also like with the local community mental health team, I also took part in co-production. So we did a co-production via Blarina and Thrive for, we constructed a course sort of about self-harm, methods of preventing self-harm and helping people who do use that. So there's a momentum now, which is really good to see. And it's good to see that there's co-production happening. But as a service user and with the family members, we still got a long way to go to make it that really kind of, you know, outstanding service. But, you know, hopefully if we started on the path, we can only hope that it gets, you know, better and we reach the end of the rainbow, so to speak.
That's it, and that is why we have these conversations, and that's why Blarina and Jenny, they do the work that they do, and Hinda, we'll talk about your events very shortly, but this is the reason why we're coming together, because, you know, it's good that in the local community we've realized there's a problem and people are not getting the help that they need. There are long waiting lists and people are not getting seen properly, they're not getting diagnosed properly, people are not necessarily being able to help in the way that they should, and now that we are doing something locally to really help is just incredible. So we are on the right path, which is really, really good. But Sally, I just want to know, because Brent is quite a diverse kind of ethnic minority and ethnically diverse area, if you like, and I do feel like there's a lot of stigma when it comes to mental health in you know, BAME, I don't want to call them BAME, but, you know, ethnic minority groups. Why do you think that is?
One, I think if you're from an ethnic minority, you already feel like you're an outsider, you're on a back foot. So you might feel like, okay, I don't want to rock the boat. You know, if you've got people sort of an older generation, first generation immigrants, they might have that attitude historically. I want to keep my head down, work hard, don't want to rock the boat, don't want to stand out. If I've got some kind of thing that will make me stand out, like a mental illness, it might just, you know, cause me more problems. there's obviously things with institutions, and you know, historically institutions can be seen as not on your side. You know, for example, I mean, not that it's not exactly relevant here, but for example, as the police, you know, in times gone by, they have been, you know, reported to be institutionally racist. That's not going to be something that's going to give a member from the BAME community any confidence, you know, in institutions and stuff like that. And it's also, you know, maybe people's unknown kind of ingrained biases and stuff that they need to address, and the way in handling people from the BAME community is of a different nature, has to be maybe different sensitivities, you know, and also those just practical things like language barriers and access barriers, you know, so those kind of things.
Yeah, no, that's really, really important, especially when you live in a community as diverse as London, not necessarily just Brent, as London. Jenny, what kind of stuff is being done by your team to kind of work with people from these communities? Is there anything that you're doing in particular to try and tackle that?
Yeah, so thank you, Sally, for your honest feedback, and for really just, you know, raising and sharing your experiences. And, you know, I think it's good to hear that you're saying that, yeah, we are moving in the right direction and that we do have a long way to go. That resonates with me. I recognize that and I accept that. And that's why we are doing this work. And it's really good to have people like yourselves giving us that honest feedback. But, you know, we are now, you know, listening and acting on the feedback that you're giving us. And as you've demonstrated that you're now doing some co-production work with us, and you're quite a proactive person who uses a service, has this understanding of it, and wants services to be improved for yourself and for others who might use it. So some of the ways that we are doing that, Seychelle, is that obviously we've got people like Sally, we've got people like Blorina, we've got services like Hindu Service. You know, we are adapting the language that we use. Myself and my team, we're holding workshops around mental health in the community in local languages. So in my team, I've employed people from the various Brent communities, and they speak that language, and they have that understanding of mental health within their communities that I perhaps as a professional didn't have that. So they have that insight that they help me to then understand how people within those communities understand mental health, if at all they recognize it as mental health, because in some communities they don't. And I've been told that, you know, for instance, in the Somali community, you're either sane or insane, and he wants to be insane. Therefore, people don't recognize or accept that they have a mental health difficulty. But I found that in the work that we've been doing with these communities in the 2 years, we've adapted the language. We've asked them to tell us what understanding of what, you know, we term mental illness in the Western model, and they've helped us to change our language. They've helped us to have an understanding of how a normal local Somali person would understand it. And as a result, we held several workshops with them. We let them lead us into changing our language and bringing people in. And actually, we're seeing more people from the Somali community now telling us that they have a better understanding of perhaps the conditions that their family members had been struggling with, which they hadn't. The patient hadn't accepted it, and the family hadn't accepted it because of stigma and lack of understanding and awareness and so on. But now people are setting up their own self-help groups using like WhatsApp, and people are asking to be referred to services, which wasn't something that we were seeing before. So we're talking about it more. We're raising awareness. We're holding stalls in various places. We're doing signposting. We're using community and faith leaders, and we're using charitable organizations that people feel more comfortable in engaging with. But we're also going to people, since we've been able to go and knock on people's doors, we're going to them. So they're not coming to our places that they see as oppressive. We're going to their their places where they feel comfortable. So be it a cafe, be it a place of worship, be it a community center. And we're asking for an opportunity to sit in a room somewhere and talk to people and just gauge their understanding and also learn from them. So that is helping to kind of, tackle and address the stigma that is associated with mental health within, you know, our BAME or
I
ethnic
love that.
minority communities.
Amazing, incredible stuff. I mean, and you did briefly refer to Hinder there. Hinder, I want to bring you in the conversation if that's all right. How are you?
Of course, I'm great. Just been listening to my colleagues and Sally's amazing story. So
Yeah, definitely
great to be a part of this.
Really inspirational. Can you tell me a little bit about the service? And you've got an event coming up. Can we hear a little bit more from you?
Yes, of course, certainly. So essentially the service I work for is Rethink Mental Illness, and we provide mental health services nationwide across England for people who are experiencing mental health challenges. It could be in various sectors from housing, accommodation, prisons. We also support young adults as well. We have actually been running and recently celebrated our 50-year anniversary, which was really great to be a part of.
Congratulations.
We have various clinical as well as service users who do co-produce and volunteer in services, but we have a range of groups, workshops across nationally different services. But I'm actually teaming up with Brent, as it was a service I was previously supporting as well, to launch this great World Mental Health Day event to raise awareness of mental health in the Borough of Brent. I've had the amazing partnership of Ashford Place as well as CNWL, so Central and North West London.
Yeah.
We've also got the North West London services, and it's just been great to kind of bring this event to life. And what essentially the event is, it's an opportunity welcoming all the residents, members, community members of the Borough of Brent, as well as service providers and staff, to come together and celebrate and raise awareness of World Mental Health Day. It's also a great opportunity for people to network, connect, and also access some of the support available, some of the services that Ashford Place offers or Jenny's team offers. And there'll be multiple resources that you can actually access. So
Amazing.
Excited for the day.
And if possible, you know, I'd like you to send us across some of those resources. That's all of you, so we can get them on the website, and we can make sure that our listeners have got places that they can go to for more information, to get involved, to access, you know, really important information. Because I think when it comes to mental health, it's really important that we educate as well as, you know, treat people, because like you were saying earlier, Jenny, you know, some people don't necessarily know about what mental health is. You know, I've been having conversations with friends of mine, and you know, they're saying, oh, you know, I'm feeling a little bit down. And in my head, I'm like, are you sure you're not feeling a little bit depressed or anxious? You know, and they're like, no, you know, because you have to be like this to be depressed. And I'm like, well, actually, no, you don't. You actually don't, you know. So it's really important that we're having these conversations. And Hinder, you mentioned that you work quite a lot with young people. What support is available for young people specifically, or is there any support available for young people specifically? And how kind of young do you work with, I suppose?
So the service that actually supports in specifically for Brent is the Young Adults Peer Navigation Service. This is overseen by a great service manager, Georgia, and essentially they offer support with peer support. So this is one-to-one tailored support to support them with their recovery journey. And it could be that they're experiencing challenges with employment or their education, or even benefits, for example, or finances. And our team is equipped to support them and get them the resources readily available essentially in the community in order to improve their recovery and well-being. So the age is from 16 to 25. The service in Rethink Brent also offers substance misuse support. However, that is from the age of 18. You've also got various workshops and groups, some of which we actually collaborate and partner with Ashford Place and the community centre. They also have, you know, the peer support for adults as well, that's there. And then a befriending service, which is for utilizes volunteers to support with adults going out in the community and getting them to integrate and build their confidence and self-esteem.
I love that. I love that. That is just incredible. I mean, how did you get into working with, how did you get into this? You know, it's incredible. You know, I love to see people giving back to the community and really caring about their community, because if I'm honest, I don't see it too often. You know, so when we have panels like this and I see people really trying to come together to help, it is just so inspirational. How did you get into this?
Funny enough, what actually attracted me to the organisation, when we're speaking about the Black and ethnic minority, I came across a service which Rethink actually offers in Kent, and it's a SIAC service which offers Black, Asian, minority, ethnic with support who are undergoing mental health struggles, and it's a service specifically tailored only for that group or minority. And it was seeing something like this, and most services, organizations, their services run far and wide, and to see an organization that has specific services just for that group is what essentially attracted me to it. Being from that community, I thought this is something I need to kind of dive into, hence I joined Rethink, and then I met all these great people like Jenny in CNWL and Ashford Place. But for me, it was definitely something that resonated with me, seeing an organization offer that service.
I love that, absolutely love that. And Blarina, I mean, because your service is kind of after they've maybe been through the treatment, if you like, they've seen Jenny, they've gone through the system. When it comes to you, what kind of things do you specifically offer people to kind of help with the aftercare? Because what I found as well when I'm speaking to a lot of people is that they go through the treatment, they go through the system, and then it's kind of like afterwards they feel like they're just kind of left alone, which is why you're so important and your service is really, really crucial. What kind of specific things do you deal with regularly?
Well, what I would say, I mean, what we offer is kind of a home from home in a way, where you feel comfortable being in a place like Ashford Place. You feel heard, and it's a chance to be part of different groups with similarities, so they'll find each other in some of these groups. We offer loads of art in terms of activities, is art groups. Also we have physical activities like Tai Chi, Stretch and Breathe is one of the very popular groups lately. Gentle exercises, walks for well-being. So it's numerous services and activities that we offer. But what I've noticed is it's the fact that coming together in certain groups make people feel heard and comfortable and being part of something, belonging somewhere really, and you know, to kind of avoid returning or relapsing in some way. It's that community spirit that needs to be kept going in some way, so people feel they belong to some group or a part of a community, and that's what we offer.
I love that. And obviously you started to work with Sally, and you have worked really well together, which is incredible. Do you often work with people that you kind of with, if that makes sense? Is that something that you do quite a lot, or is, for example, I mean, you know, Sally's very proactive, she's really trying to help, and most people like that, or is Sally just someone that's very special and wants to really try and give back?
No, actually, so the members, all Brent Thrive members, you know, kind of chip in and help out wherever, like when we're organizing events or similar activities like yours now. So we give them the opportunity as much as they can, they would like to be involved. But this, you know, it all depends. We're all different, really. It's not everybody kind of wants to be involved in certain things. So whatever they wish to be part of, we give them that chance. And yeah, you know, it's just that keeping the door open for whatever it is that you wish to be part of, in a sense.
Amazing. It's just that sense of belonging, isn't it? It's that sense of not feeling like you're isolated, not feeling like you've got no one to talk to, not feeling like there's no one that won't listen to you. It's really making sure that there is that support system there, because, you know, when it comes to mental health, a lot of people feel like they are alone. A lot of people feel like they can't speak to people. And it's interesting because when you actually start opening that line of communication about mental health, the amount of things you uncover are actually crazy. Like me personally, I realized just through a random conversation on my friend's birthday, I realized that she's actually going through quite a lot. You know, she's got a lot more going on at home than she lets on. You know, she's got a lot more on her shoulders than she tells us normally. And I just didn't really know how to feel. You know, I really wanted to help her, but I just felt like, wow, you've never ever told this. And when we started to get a little bit deeper into the conversation, she was like, actually, I don't really want to talk about this no more. And for me, it was like, are you putting a limit on yourself? You know, you don't want to talk about this anymore, but I'm here. So I tried to reassure her and say, look, I'm here for you. If you need to talk to me, I am here. But But it's only when you have those conversations that maybe some people feel like they are ready and willing to open up. You know, she's going through a lot. You know, it was the first time. This is my friend of 10 years, and she told me for the first time that she's having suicidal thoughts. You know, I said to her, you know, what would you like to do? What are your goals? Let's focus on your goals. What do you want to achieve in the next 6 months to a year? And she said, I like to still be alive. And for me, that really hit me, you know, because I was like, wow, you are probably the life of the party. You're happy. You're not this person. So, you know, people can really mask their mental health. And one thing that I did, and that she did say to me, which was interesting, was she doesn't really want to go in, you know, down the mental health treatment route because she feels like the waiting lists are so long. You know, I mean, Jenny, what can you tell me about waiting lists? Are they long? I know resources are really stretched in the country alone, but how long are waiting lists, you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sashel, and that, you know, you are there for your friends, and, you know, recognizing that just because she is the life and soul of the party doesn't actually mean that she doesn't have struggles. And it's great that she's able to come to you. She have that friend, because not everybody has a friend that they can talk to, but also that you're taking it at her pace, because, you know, to disclose is quite a vulnerable state, and we don't really like to be vulnerable. And you need to really trust somebody in order to be able to do that. So it's really good to hear that you are there for your friend in that way. And it's, you know, we know that there are people like yourself who want to help, and there are lots of people in the community who notice that someone's having a difficulty. And as you said, there's that sense of belonging. They want to reach out, they want to support them, they want to help them, and sometimes they don't know how to, you know. And as Blarina was also saying, you know, people within Brent Thrive, they've got different gifts that they give in different ways, but the overall feeling is that people really want to help each other, and even much more so since COVID, you know, that you want to look out for each other and you want to be equipped to be able to do that. And so with that, we run things like mental health first aid training, because if someone was having a physical crisis, if they collapse, you're going to give them first aid. So why don't you want to give someone first aid if they were having a mental health crisis? You know, is it perhaps because you don't know how to do that? Therefore, we want to equip people and offer this training, and people are taking that, they're asking for it, and they're taking that up more and more. But going back to waiting lists, it depends on what service you're referred to. So for instance, if we speak about IAPT, which is the primary care psychological therapy services, their waiting list is usually 6 to 8 weeks. But that doesn't mean that, you know, somebody isn't being contacted. So for instance, you get triaged, you get put on that waiting list, which has come down a great deal, because previously it was 3 to 6 months, and before that it was like up to 12 months as well. So the waiting list has come down significantly, and during the time that someone is waiting, they do keep in touch with that person just to check that symptoms haven't increased, to see how they're still doing, if they're doing anything to support themselves, or perhaps they might have been signposted to something that can support them while they're waiting, or even just introducing them to what is therapy actually going to be like, looking at that expectation, you know, and preparing people. And then if you refer to the community mental health hubs, the waiting list is usually 4 weeks, and, you know, we aim to assess people within 28 days. It doesn't normally actually go to that. People are usually assessed, you know, triage or contacted within 3 weeks of that and given an outcome of some sort. And then if it was, say, for instance, someone is in a crisis and in an urgent referral that's gone to the single point of access, they would do a very quick triage within 4 hours, and then they would involve our response team, our first responders team, who would assess people who are in crisis and decide whether should they be supported by the home treatment team, or do they actually need to be admitted to hospital, which might then incur a further more detailed assessment in order for that to happen. So those are the sort of waiting times. And then there is a slightly longer waiting times for child and adolescent mental health services, because that's a more specialized service, and it actually needs a more integrated MDT approach with specialists involved. And I'm not from children's services, so I won't say too much and kind of, not give the correct information
of course,
or anything like that. But then
really
if someone were
useful then.
perhaps to turn up at the accident and emergency department, they would be seen there and then face to face, and that's usually within 1 hour that someone is assessed, by a psychiatric liaison practitioner. And then again, they'll make a decision. Does this person need to be discharged back home? Do they need to be referred, to the home treatment team, or should we get first responders to consider them then, going into hospital? So that's kind of, the gist of it.
Yeah, really useful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Sally, just touching on your experience as a service user, how long did you wait? Did you wait quite a while before you were seen?
I mean, so historically, there were lots of times that I went to seek treatment. And each time it was a very, very, very long wait, if I'm honest. This last set of treatment is end of May, I finished a year of psychodynamic therapy. But the start time was, so when I got referred to the community mental health team, it was December 2019, and I didn't get seen until April 2021. So that was a year and a half.
Wow.
So that was a very long time. I did deteriorate quite considerably at some points, and if at that time, if it wasn't for kind of third sector charities reaching out to me, I could have gone down a very dark path. And so that's not that far in the past, but I'm hoping that things are better.
Yeah, it seems like things are improving, definitely. And did you get referred, we talked about this last time, did you refer yourself, or was it your GP that referred you?
It was quite a long-winded process, if I'm honest, because I had referred myself initially for the IAPT services, and I'd got referred for CBT, which would have been 6 to 8 sessions. And now, and I did specifically say to them at the start, listen, I've had CBT before. I don't think it's suitable for me because I've got quite complex needs, and I know that I am self-harming, I've got suicidal ideation, etc. Now, that's another conversation to have. Was it appropriate to give me CBT? But kind of by the third session, my therapist, which I applaud her for, was like, this treatment is not suitable for you. You need to have specialist treatment. So she referred me back to the GP. Then the GP referred me to specialist third kind of, I don't know the term, but sort of specialist treatment. And then I got referred back saying, no, this is not the place that you refer us to, which is a specialist hospital in South London, Maudsley. So the GP had to then refer me to the community mental health team. So it was frustrating when the practitioners themselves might not know the right pathways, but I'm hoping and I'm seeing that, like I said, there's momentum. So I think education is massive, because if I'm a service user and I'm a layperson, I'm just going to keep on knocking at the GP's door because I don't know any better. But then I hope and I expect, like, the GPs, the people in the system, they need to be educated, and then in whatever ways, like you guys as the service providers like Jenny and Hinda, Lorena, can direct us, the service users, in the right way, bearing in mind that if somebody's coming to these services, we might not be in the best place mentally. It's really, really hard to navigate when you're quite well, but then to navigate when you're not really well at all is very, very difficult. So then eventually it was a really long process, if I'm honest. It kind of started in 2017, then eventually got to the community mental health team in December 2019 and got the treatment starting April 2021. And I don't want to at all put people off who are out there listening. You do have to persevere, but I think from what the ladies have said today, like we're improving, there's momentum there. So, that's fingers crossed, that's the thing. But my takeout would be, listen, just seek help. I know it's really scary and sometimes you feel so alone and you just think nobody's listening, but there will be somebody listening, and it's just keep reaching out. It's that thing where it's very hard for people who feel very isolated, very scared, maybe a bit paranoid, if they've got kind of quite complex needs, to reach out. But honestly, if I'm somebody, and I'm happy to disclose, at one point in my life, I had a breakdown and I attempted suicide. but I'm still here because I was like, no, I can't do this. I can't give up. So if I can do it, you know, just keep going. I know that might not sound like the best advice, and somebody might be like, well, what do you know? Well, I do know because I have lived it.
100%. And I appreciate that so much. Thank you for telling us your story. Jenny, did you want to say something to that?
Yeah, thank you, Sashel. I just want to again really just thank Sally for being so open and really just speaking about your experiences, you know, not just of the service, but also, you know, the mental health difficulties that you've experienced. You know, I am sorry to hear that you waited such a long time when that, you know, you were kind of, you know, pushed from one place to another because professionals weren't as, you know, aware of where to, you know, to get you the right help. And, you know, it sounds like the kind of treatment you needed was quite a specialized one, which we at one point didn't have enough skilled practitioners to be able to provide it. Therefore, people would wait a little bit longer. And I'm hoping that in the time that you were waiting, that you had some support, you know, whilst waiting, you know, in that time, and not only from third sector organizations who we value very much, and we know actually we can't do our work without them, to be honest, in the same way how we wouldn't be able to do our work without carers. But what I want to reassure you and your listeners is that, you know, we are now training up all of our professionals to be able to deliver some interventions, and those who we can see that want to go the route of becoming professionals and delivering the kind of interventions that you talk about, Sally, you know, we are training up more people. And as I speak, there's a new role within our psychology service that's just literally just come out, which will train people to begin to deliver shorter interventions that perhaps doesn't require the specialist, you know, psychotherapist or, you know, psychologist, so that frees them up to be able to see people like yourself a lot sooner, because there is someone to do some of the other interventions that doesn't require the same level of specialty. So I just want to give you that assurance, and that there is funding for that. And at the moment, as we speak, we've advertised that role. There's going to be 8 new roles, you know, within Brent Mental Health Service to be able to deliver that. If we're able to, you know, successfully recruit people, recruitment obviously is also another challenge that we face. But the other thing that I want to say is also that now, in order to upskill GPs and make them much more aware of the pathways and so on, we've got our mental health practitioners who sit within GP surgeries. So they're linked into all the primary care networks that we work with. So they are seeing people at GP surgeries, and then if someone needs to come into the service, they are bringing them in. But they're also educating GPs and people that work in primary care about who goes where, you know, which is a suitable referral to go to IAP, which is a suitable referral to go to the community mental health team, and who perhaps is going to require much more specialist service that, again, it might take a little bit longer, but we're working towards that. So we've got those roles now in surgeries.
I love that. And you mentioned that, you know, people are being educated more. And to touch on what you said, Sally, you know, maybe if service users or people that feel like they are going through something, talk to a friend or somebody. It doesn't necessarily have to be a GP. If they talk to anyone, if, you know, like I'm learning myself, if we can educate ourselves a lot more, then maybe we can help. I mean, I'm going to ask all of you, but I mean, I'm going to come to you in a second. But I'm just going to quickly ask all of you, is there anything that service users or people who feel like they may have some kind of need some mental health help, if you like, is there anything that they can do to help make your jobs easier? You know, because essentially it's kind of a give and take. You want to give to the community, but also at the same time we want to give to you guys, you know, because you are providing the service. Is there anything that you think can be done on, you know, our end, the community, the service users on our end, to help make your jobs easier? I think I'm going to start with you, Hinda. Is there anything that you feel that we could do to help?
I would say speak up. I think that's the biggest thing, I think, for all services, is speak up. We you know, you always go and you get these forms that you have to fill up, give us feedback, but it's that feedback that essentially shapes the next steps that we then take. You know, there in our organization alone, and Blarina's service as well, as well as Jenny's, there will be opportunities where you can be part of panels to co-produce, you know, workshops or even groups that will give us the best opportunity to not only involve you in the whole process from the very beginning, but we are able to get first-hand experience and understanding of exactly what it is you need. So they are voluntary opportunities you can access with services as well. But for me, I think definitely speaking up, giving us your feedback, what it is you need. And I think sometimes, I know someone probably thinking, I've given that before, nothing has happened or nothing has changed. It is coming. It will take some time. And sometimes it might take you saying something or speaking to someone different for that person to realize, you know what, this needs to take shape now rather than later. But it's that element of us keep having your input into the production of any service that we come up with, or any workshop that we create or program that we deliver. Once we have that understanding, then we'll be able to understand what it is, the community as well as you, what you need.
So it's about everyone educating and speaking up and really understanding. Blarina, would you agree with that? Is there anything else that you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, reach out really to anyone you can, even just opening up, like your friend you mentioned earlier on, just opening up amongst friends and family, and allowing yourself to accept that vulnerability, but also reaching out to us. Brent Thrive, like I mentioned earlier, this is the purpose of it, bringing people with lived experience together so we can begin to make little changes, but definitely reach out.
I love that. Did you want to build on what we were talking about before?
Yeah, I was
Sally was going to say.
Yeah, in response to Jenny, it was really good to hear that you're recruiting those new posts, obviously, that have been generated. So from my point of view, like as a service user, that sounds like something really good, because, you know, like in hindsight, if I had been in that position now, that would be maybe something that would have maybe intervened in the kind of time between. And I think one point what I would like to say, and it's not just me, I've had this conversation with so many people, just actually with other Thrive members, as Blarina probably knows, is when it comes to services, as service users, if you can just be honest with us, just be, listen, it's going to take 12 months, it's going to take 18 months. You know what, you might not even, I'm going to be really honest, we might not have the facilities for that very specialized treatment, because we don't unfortunately offer it. I would have so much respect for your authenticity and for your integrity that you've said that to me. Yeah, I would be gutted, but I don't want false promises, and I don't want my time to be wasted anymore, because I've had so many years literally of having to endure so much illness. It really breaks you. And actually, where somebody can just be stand up and counted and be like, the buck stops here, it's okay. I cannot tell you how much value that has for a service user, and how much like that can positively impact them.
Amazing. I absolutely agree with you, Sally, you know, and for me, my policy is always honesty and transparency. You know, there is no point in me promising you something that it's not going to be there. I'd rather be honest with you, even if you're going to be unhappy with what I tell you, and you're aware of it, and we can find other solutions while you're waiting, you know, what else we can do to support you in the meantime, rather than sell you dreams, to be honest. So yeah. Yeah,
I love that. Amazing. And I just want to know, this is just like a personal question of mine. I don't know, feel free to shout, whoever wants to answer this. We've spoken quite a lot about, you know, people that feel like they may be going through it themselves, how they refer themselves, how they get referred, speaking up, that kind of stuff. But is there any kind of support within all of your services that you provide that works with kind of friends and family of those people? For example, one of my close friends, it's so weird that literally very recently I found two of my friends were just going through some really mad stuff, but basically one of my friends, she lost her nan earlier this year, and she was heartbroken. She was raised by her nan, and it really hit her hard, and she was struggling a lot, and I was there for her, you know, for this year, and she was getting there, she was getting better, she was really getting there. But then last week, her little brother, who was 21, hung himself. And it just, I saw her physically just go back 20 steps, you know, and that is hard. And I just think to myself, you know, is there a service locally or some kind of support network or a resource that works for people who are kind of friends and family of somebody who has been going through it as well? Hinda, Jenny, I don't mind. Let's start with you, Hinda.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you actually mentioned that. So one of our services are in North Central London. It covers the boroughs of Camden, Islington, Barnet, Enfield and Harringay. Unfortunately not Brent. However, if you do know someone that is bereaved by suicide, they can access our service. The service is actually tailored for those who have been bereaved by suicide. That includes family, friends, you know, close relatives as well. They have a collective team of staff and volunteers from a range of different diverse backgrounds who will be on hand to support you, and each person who is undergoing bereavement will have obviously different experiences and different challenges, so the service will tailor to your needs. But I can't stress this enough, it is a service that is available. We also have various services that support equally suicide as well as bereavement in the south of England, so this can be accessed. I'm more than happy to share that information with you, but I would
please
stress if they can please reach out. We're more than happy to support them as best as we can.
Wicked. Jenny?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Hinda, for that. And thank you for sharing about your friend. I'm really sorry to hear, you know, about what she's been going through. And again, that you are there as somebody that, you know, she can reach out to. So we do have, you know, so in terms of family and carers, we have Brent Carers Service, which is a space in Willesden. And again, when we provide the information, the signposting database, you'll get that and you'll be able to share that with your listeners. So we have Brent Carers Centre, and they would work with people, and we have something called, you know, Gateway as well. And again, they provide support for carers and family members and that. And within CNWL service, we also got a service that's called Check-in and Chat that supports carers as well. So you'll have people that will ring carers and talk to them, offer support to them, you know. And then we have the Brent Bereavement Service also, that obviously provide bereavement support, but also looking at doing it from a culturally specific way. So more recently, based on feedback that we received, that, you know, people weren't accessing bereavement support because they couldn't relate to it. It wasn't tailored enough to their cultural needs. So they've developed a program where you can have one-to-one support, and it can be for Black men, Black women, Asian men, Asian women, and they're happy to go and deliver this in places where people feel more comfortable, and have it in groups where people can come and share their experiences, or have it individually. So that is available, and again, we'll provide that, you know, for you guys as well. So that's before people actually then maybe access IAPT, you know, who then also, you know, provide that kind of support. In terms of, you know, support around suicide, as Blarina mentioned, Ashford Place are doing a training, but within CNWL, we've also got our suicide awareness training, which covers 5 boroughs. And again, I'll share that detail with you. And again, we come and deliver it, you know, locally for people. So this could be within organizations or just for groups and residents as well. We have that, and we also have another service within Brent Council that is kind of commissioned to do that, called the Gen Group, which I'm sure Gavin will share their details as well. So we've got support around, but sometimes it's not as well signposted for people to be able to access them.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And it does sound like there is loads out there, that we just need to get the message out there, and we just need to let people know that it does exist.
It does. And again, with our work with the Somali community as well, we started, it was just for Somali women, like they're having a, you know, women's coffee morning, but we know that they kind of bore the brunt of COVID in Brent, because so many people from the Somali community died, but they don't access, you know, conventional bereavement services. So we've started having conversations with one of the organizations, with the women, to see how we can develop something that they can actually facilitate and deliver it themselves, so that they're helping each other, they're sharing their own stories and experiences. And more recently, I was privileged to be a part of workshops that are being held in Chalk Hill Community Centre, because they're planning to build a memorial wall for people that have died, you know, within that area, be it through COVID or, you know, different, you know, causes, and they brought residents and people locally together, and they just made artwork, and then they had a facilitator, you know, who led, and perhaps people just began to share their own stories and found there's so much commonality, you know, within this diverse group of people that were sitting in this room, and they share, you know, very similar stories, but they hadn't actually been able to go out and seek that support, but they felt very comfortable to be able to speak with each other in that space, because it was a safe space. And I think providing a safe space is very important for people, and people grieve in different ways, they deal with it in different ways. They sat down, they made artworks, and it signified something for them, and there were some spiritual you know, elements to it, there were cultural elements to it, how people were dealing with it, and it's not dismissed, it's respected, it's valued, and it's cathartic for people.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate that. There is so much out there. Like I say, we are going to get the resources together. We are going to put them on the website. So if you do need any kind of help, as you've heard, you know, you've been listening for the last hour, as you've heard, we have covered a multitude of different angles and aspects of mental health disorders that you may be able to get help for if you just have a look at some of the resources and educate yourself, you know, or talk to someone. We've literally got 3 minutes left. I can't believe how quick this show goes. You know, there's so much to talk about when it comes to these panel shows. I just really want to get into everything, but I just want to know from all of you one thing, just one takeaway that our listeners can hear, one piece of advice, just anything that you think is really powerful for our listeners, just before we go. Blarina, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, like I said before, just, you know, reach out. If you're struggling, don't be afraid. It's okay. It's not always easy, but you got to reach out, and that's how people will eventually help and will be there for you. And be kind to one another, let's say.
That is a good one. That is definitely a good one. Hinda?
I think for me, that what always resonates is it's a process. It's going to take some time. And you know what? Sometimes it does take a village, and there's a variety of sectors, mental health providers, statutory services that are there to support you. You just need to access them, and you have your story to tell, and we're here to listen.
Amazing. Sally?
I think mine would be pretty much echoing, to be honest, what Blarina said. Reach out, and just from my own personal experience, you might be thinking there's just no point. You know, you might be really at the end of that dark tunnel, but I don't know how to really articulate it, because it's not necessarily something you can put in words. Sometimes it's just your sense of being. Honestly, if I could say to someone, I want to be at your next birthday, I want to be at your eulogy.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is really powerful. Thank you, Sally. And finally, Jenny, just before we head off.
Yeah, I'd say be kind to yourself. Your life matters.
Amazing. So useful. Thank you so much, Blarina, Sally, Hinda and Jenny, for today. It's been such an incredible panel. Again, you have been listening to the Beat London 103.6 FM. This is a very special programme in conjunction with Brent Council. We are talking about mental health today because we are preparing for World Mental Health Day on the 10th of October. Hinda has got an event coming up then. We are going to put the details on our website as well, so you can find out more information about that. And if you want to get in touch with us, hit us up on the socials at the Beat 103.6 FM. We will put up the resources, we will put up information about the event, and you can get in touch. And if you want to send any questions, pass them on to us. We will definitely forward them onto the panel. So definitely, this is such an important topic, something that we really feel has to be addressed. We have to tackle that stigma and that taboo. So thank you all so much today. Thank you to Gabby and Brent as well for putting this on. Every single month we have such a really important, necessary conversation. You know, we always have an amazing panel. So really, really grateful for that. Up next, it's just coming up to 7 o'clock. Up next is Miss Bex with the Afro Beat Show. You do not want to miss that. I will be back on Friday for the Old School Fridays Drive Time Show.